Society, a collective of people living together in a more or less ordered community. Societies have drastically changed around the world for many years. We went from stones to tools, from harsh labor to minimum wage, from swords to guns, and from ruling kings and queens to presidents and prime ministers. These changes came from people who had ideas of evolution, ideas that will create a better functioning world. People such as Saint Simon. To go more in depth, Henri de Saint-Simon was born in Paris as a French aristocrat on October 17, 1760. With his given name of Claude-Henri de Rocroi, Comte de Saint-Simon, he belonged to a part of the Duc de Saint-Simon's family. When he was a young man, he went to America to join the American service and took part in the siege of Yorktown under Washington. At the beginning of the French Revolution in 1789, Saint-Simon encouraged ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity. When the revolution began, Saint Simon organized a big industrial structure so that he could found a school of imprisonment of science. During the Terror period, Saint-Simon was imprisoned for being a suspect of counter-revolutionary activities from his project. He was released in 1794, by the end of the Reign of Terror. After he got back his freedom, Saint-Simon made himself a very big fortune, which was then stolen by his backstabbing business partners. He ended in giving up the financial life to devote himself to political studies and research. Saint Simon had many theories, one of which is the actual basis of Marxism. With the world rapidly changing around him, he figured that everyone should do their part in order for the transition to run smoothly. His views were that no matter whom you were, rich, poor, old, or young, you had to share the amount of work within a community so that everyone contributes to the changes of society. Obviously, there were people who objected these new ways, such as the religious people who frowned upon the technical advancements. There were also the rich aristocrats who had the "I can pay someone to do that work for me" frame of mind. Anyway, this was a system where the state or government owned all of the property. This property would then be distributed to the workers in different amounts depending on how hard and how well they worked. For example, if the society functioned this way, the aristocrats would be the poor ones, since they were the ones to do the least amount of work. Another one of St. Simon's theories had to do with governance. He argued that the smartest people of society, those who are most intelligent, would come together to make a new way of ruling over people. In doing this, he would replace the religious people with scientists, the nobles with businessmen who knew how to deal with property, and the power to choose the people called to perform as a great leader to anyone willing to nominate. This separation of the power would better demonstrate the abilities and importance of these different groups, making sure that things ran according to plan. The goal of this was not to promote democracy, but to create a new form of hierarchy. The kings and queens that had ruled in the past were there because of a long line of relatives who had ruled before them. This new method could create a system that is more fair, as well as have people who actually know what they are doing run the state, other than having corruption and potentially driving the government to the ground. Saint Simon also had an opinion on firearms way back when. During the 19th century, guns were quite popular for any criminal that could get their hands on some, and the crime rate was relatively high. Our good friend Henry's solution was to only give the right of firearms to those that were part of the government. So, in relation to his previous theory, only the smart people would be in charge of these deadly weapons. So what if Canada worked the way Henri Saint-Simon wanted it to work? Let's begin with the basis of communism. It is said and criticized that capitalism is a part of human nature, and that if men are left to their own devices, they will always become capitalist. This plays off the popular Darwin saying, survival of the fittest, because if you made a lot of money for yourself, you would be better off. selfish, but better off. With this said, there is also a popular saying, sharing is caring. With capitalism comes economic inequality, and who would want to live in a society where there are selfish rich people and really poor people living side by side? If everyone worked together and everyone contributed, there would be no reason for such inequality. Everyone would be able to play their part in society. Now, this is not quite communism, because as you know, communism allows for absolutely everything to be equal. In St. Simon's theory, you get what you give. You are rewarded for the effort you put into your place in society. There would be a job opportunity for everyone, and there would be less of a difference between economic classes, seeing as they would be working together instead of for each other. As for smart people running society, that is an amazing idea. If you look at politics these days, everyone is led to believe that they are voting for the smartest politician who has their best interests at heart. Though if you look more closely, it is really just a huge popularity contest which leads to having insufficient people run a society that will eventually crumble. Moving on to the subject of weaponry, there would be fewer murders if guns were given to intelligent people and only to intelligent people. The problem with having possession of a weapon is that it is way too easy, more so in the United States, to get your hands on one. Presently, the government itself is handing over tools for murder to people who could fully intend on committing crimes. If people of authority were the only ones allowed to obtain a gun, there would be less danger because the number of guns on the streets would diminish and there would be fewer crimes that lead to death. Henri Saint-Simon was a very intelligent man who inspired many sociologists and embraced change in society. Even now, change is still occurring. His ideas gave birth to new ideas, and whether we like it or not, our way of thinking is always shifting.